Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
On a live podcast.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied up to the bar here. It is August 27th. We are just about finished with the month of August as we're going into the getting ready for kids to go back to school. So you can all see stupid pictures of your neighbors' kids saying, "Oh, look, don't they look great?" No, they don't. No one cares. No one wants to see school pictures. But why not have someone from down south, all the way in Florida, where they've been in school already for about 2 weeks, because they get way more into it than we do up here in the Northeast. So joining us all the way from parts of Florida unknown, because I don't really know where anything is in Florida other than like Jackson. I know stupid parts of Florida, like, yes, I know Jackson, but like Yulee and Callahan, like way up north where it's almost Georgia, so far up north. So joining us all the way down there, we're going to be talking about how to find creative inspiration. It's Miss Jackie Brennan.
Hi.
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm doing very well tonight, thank you. And thank you for having me as a guest on your podcast.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about how to find creative inspiration, what you can do. Jackie is a plethora of these things, from 6 self-published books, 4 that are on Amazon. She's got some I'm going to find out what a paraprofessional is, but I think I already know her and my wife can sit down and have conversations about all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get into all those things. But before we get too far into it and we lose track, let's go ahead and take care of some house cleaning here, folks. As always, over my right shoulder is the big board for Sticker and a Cause. If you've got something you're supporting, something you believe in, something you want other people to know about, you can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Our email address is the Above the Bar Podcast. Our website is the Above the Bar Podcast at gmail.com. Reach out to us. Let us know what you got going on. I'll tell you where to send it to. You mail me a sticker. I read about you free of charge here on the air so everybody can know about you. You also got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here, and that is Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie, North America's largest custom window treatment companies. They handle everything from blinds, shades, shutters, drapery. They do motorization. They have, they can tint your windows. I know that's a big Florida thing, tint your home windows instead of putting anything up on them. They do all those things to include professional installation of all of it. And for the rest of the month of August, folks, they are doing 20% off of your product. They will always give you an additional 5% if you tell them that you're there to belly up to the bar. And if you miss out on August, folks, I'll hint to you that on the September deal they're going to run, it's going to be buy 2, get 1 free for back to school. That's right, folks. You buy 2 window treatments, you get a free window treatment. That could be motorized. That could be whatever it is that you're looking for. So make sure you're reaching out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. All right, Jackie, all the bills have been paid. How are things in Florida?
Things are pretty warm still. The heat is finally starting to simmer down a little bit. But everything else is going great.
Now, what does simmering down heat in Florida look like? I'm going to ask that question right away. Because to me, just so you know, it was like 72, 74 up in Albany.
Right. Well, think of it as an oven setting. We're on broil right now.
Oh, okay. So it's only about 500 degrees outside.
Only about that, yeah.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's nice and cool. It's only about 500 degrees outside. Comfortable temperatures completely makes sense to me. So
Right.
Looking a little bit over Jackie's bio, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit before we got into all this. A little bit of history. Let's see. You've got again. Let's see here. Going back here. So 7 years as a paraprofessional for working with kids with disabilities. Professional photographer.
Yes.
Let's see, 6 self-published books, 4 that are on Amazon. You've also on Lulu.com with Rock Around the USA, the Kindness Tour. Uh, let's see, what else? Am I missing anything? You've got the poems. You've got more songwriting. The Patriarch legacy. I mean,
Yep.
you've got a little bit of everything going on here, Jackie. I mean, like let's start with this. Like, so all these different things that you've got going on, where does it start?
Wow. First, I think it started with my mom. My mom was an incredible artist. She could do anything, everything I've done. I couldn't hold a candle to that woman.
What do you mean?
sh- there was you could hand her a canvas and say, let's just paint a nice realistic farm scene, with a barn and stuff like that. No guidance, no picture, no nothing. Come back about 3 days later, and it was the most magnificent painting you'd ever seen.
Oh, wow.
She, she had a terminal illness, but she was a Scotch Irish redhead, so she lived for 22 and a half years with this when they only gave her 5 to live.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and she was determined to make everything she could as beautiful before she left.
That's awesome.
And she could take the syrup jars, the Mrs. Butterworth, the older ones, the glass ones. She was painting them as figurines, like nurses and nuns, and you could order them and so forth as gifts. And that's what she would do, and she sold them on eBay.
Oh, wow.
And she made quite a money. She was able to go on a couple of cruises with my dad on just that money alone.
Did she end up with a pretty good following from something like that?
She did. She had her own little eBay store, and she had like an excellent rating. But she had like the Midas touch. Everything she touched was like gold. And she was fantastic way from the beginning. I had dyslexia, and she came up with all these creative, cool ideas to help me write and write and rewrite, like my grandfather did as well. I'll give you a great example. My favorite band is Duran Duran, since I was 10 years old. Okay. And she found out how many members of the band there were and what their names were. And to teach me cursive writing, she got notebooks and wrote out like Mrs. John Taylor, Mrs. Simon Le Bon, Mrs. Andy Taylor, and so forth. And she said, if you're going to marry one of them, you don't know which one yet. You got to practice the handwriting. Fill the notebook.
That's so great. Like we could have an entire conversation about how do you, what's your favorite Duran Duran, favorite cover songs. We can get into all that. So you really came from a creative household.
Yes.
Where that was pushed. And I'm always interested. We've had some different people on the show with dyslexia, dealt with people in my own life. I'm always curious to ask people with dyslexia because, we all just generally think of, they see letters backwards. And it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. And you can look at it and there's different forms of dyslexia. How do you think from a creative standpoint, your ability to see things differently than the average person helped you in your creative journey?
Well, you see things from a different perspective. Life is about seeing things from a perspective, and there's different ways people look at it. So with dyslexia, as you say, the letters flip, but also words flip. Words can flip around. And throughout my journey, I've learned to stop, focus, look at things at least 2 or 3 different ways to find the middle ground. And it's been very, very, very helpful throughout my life.
So what was the first thing then that for you where you say like you finally discovered, like, because a lot of people are always saying like, I have an idea, but they don't move forward. Oh, I've got this thing. I can write this book, or I can, I have a story or a poem or whatever it happens to be. Where do you get your your inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to put it to pen to paper. I'm going to put it in action. Because a lot of people, they have it, but they can't get it to action.
Well, that I credit my grandfather with. And I also credit God, by the way, for the talent. Thank you. All praise to him. But my grandfather was really instrumental as well. Um, they didn't know what to do with dyslexia or anything back in the 70s. And my grandfather thought, oh, maybe it's just you need more practice in writing. He knew that there was something up here that was reversing things. So his idea was to sit me down. I spent a lot of time over my grandparents' house because my mom was a single mom until she married my dad. Um, and he gave me a notepad and a special pen from the place that he worked at. He was an apprentice at the place he retired from. So he had a special pen and pencil set and so forth. And my mom, she knitted a blanket and a special pillow for me to sit down on the couch. And my grandfather would tell me stories. And he would have me write them at first the way he told me to do them. Then he would say, okay, we're going to take this story and I want you to write it in your own words. And he would help me with my vocabulary and so forth. And this went on for years this way. And he had a lot of great advice. And one of the things he told me, and my mom, of course, being his daughter, also encouraged, was that if you have an idea and if you don't run with it or at least try it, just like the rest of your life, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering what would have happened if I did it. If you don't, and that's true with all of life. If you don't attempt something, you don't know how much. If you're afraid of failure, everyone is. But if you don't fail, at least one or two times, you won't know how it will feel when you succeed, because you got to keep trying.
Absolutely. I heard one the other day that really stuck with me. It's funny you mentioned about, just getting out and doing it, which I don't know if you know who Grant Cardone is, but Grant Cardone said that most people quit before the miracle happens.
Yes.
And it's like, it's so true. Like, there's plenty of stories about like guys who were like, hey, looking for gold during the gold rush, and they dug and dug and dug and dug, and they're like, there's nothing here, and they leave and they sell their claim, and the next guy behind them in the first day is like, oh shit, I found a pile of gold. There's all these stories, but it sounds to me like you found gold also with all the different things you've done here. So let's talk a little bit. So my reason I mentioned my wife is, and look, folks, we have Jackie Brennan on. You can find her on doggone LinkedIn under Jacqueline Brennan, or is it Jackie or Jacqueline on LinkedIn?
It's Jacqueline, and it's actually Jacqueline Rivers. Brennan is my grandparents' last name, and my mom's maiden name, and that's what I use professionally for writing and as an artist and so forth.
Okay, gotcha. So you'll find her on there. If you're out there and you have any questions about creativity, how to become creative, or maybe you've got a creative story you want to share with everybody, make sure you drop it in the comments. Let us know what you got going on there. So you spent 7 years as a paraprofessional, and the reason I bring that up, and it's something that's important in our household because my wife is a manager for paratransit, everything from teaching people how to take the paratransit buses, to helping call takers how to talk to people with special needs on the phone. She teaches she's got 23 years of doing this. So what did you do in the paraprofessional world?
I'm still a paraprofessional. What a paraprofessional does is they take creative ways to help children with special needs learn, because children with special needs tend to learn differently. And I have a daughter who is autistic, and she has a process delay as well. And as you know, as a single mom for the last 12 years, I had to find ways to teach her. Um, because the normal sitting there, with a teacher and blah, 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 and this is what we're going to do, it doesn't work. It goes in one ear and out the other. They have to have visuals. They have to have examples. They have to have, so many different ways. And I've my daughter is now 19, mentally about 10, 12, but she's 19
Okay.
and just recently graduated cum laude from high school in May, and she was on access points.
Wow.
I was thrilled. Yeah, and every day it's a joy to me to take these kids who may be low functioning, they may be, whatever. There's such a wide variety of disabilities, and part of I spend a little time watching, observing, seeing what they need, and how they learn and how they function before I put something together to teach them. I'll give you a great example. The poppets.
Yeah.
The little poppet things. Okay, the colored thing. So you have, let's say, just a regular rectangle with 10 rows. You have 10 little bubbles. Okay. Well, you could do addition, subtraction, and multiplication right there on the poppet. And
wow, no, I would have never thought about that.
Yeah, it was very, very easy. Think of like 2 rows. Let's just go simple. You're going to do 2 plus 2. So you're going to pop 2 bubbles in one row, 2 bubbles in the next row, turn it over. There's your answer. 4, right? Yeah. You take.
Come up with that, or did somebody did you come up with that?
Yes, I did.
Jackie, that's badass.
Yes, I did.
That's pretty bad. Because that's such an easy way to help a kid, just to start visualizing. That's amazing. I got to tell you, from listening to what you've just said in the last few minutes about, what your grandparents did for you, what your mother did for you with stories and creativity, I can see where moving into that world for yourself, from a professional standpoint, you've used those creative juices. And again, folks, we're talking about finding your creative inspiration. That is so cool. That's such a genius way to do that. I love it.
And it's so easy. It's so easy, and the reason I did that is my first, about 5 years ago, there was a class that went through a teacher, a para, in like 4 months. And I went over there with K through 2, and the teacher decided not to return. And it was December. And I ended up teaching the rest of the year for this class.
Oh, wow.
And I was so excited because the standard tests that they take and so forth for 3rd grade. Every single one of them were like a percentage point off of passing. And the consensus was, if I had had the class a little sooner, they were pretty sure that they were all going to pass. And
awesome.
that I'm very, very proud of. My vice principal actually went to the superintendent and said, "Look, this is one of our paras had done." And
you're just proving it. It's a process thing, like how you teach, not what you teach.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. That's a giant smile on my face just hearing that. That is so awesome. I just love even hearing that you were able to accomplish that, and using that. And again, that's that finding that creative inspiration. You knew how to find a creative way. I mean, this is I'm mind boggled already by you and just the creative process. I mean, so you've been using this creative process. You've got all these different things going on. You said you're still doing that. Tell me a little bit about the photography side to it. Because I'm going to pause that for 1 second before we get into the. I got to ask you something about Paris. So you've been in this industry for a long time.
Yes.
You understand it. And look, folks, whether you like it or not, it's an industry. Teaching is an industry. Schools are an industry. whether you believe it or not, it's not a non-for-profit. Your kid's high school and elementary school is not a non-for-profit organization. There is a union that runs teachers. It is a for-profit. Look, my wife just said you should do a day-to-day podcast teaching others. There you go. You could do your own podcast.
Oh, wow.
Where every day you just like a creative way to work with somebody with a special need. You don't even have to do a long one. Like do a 10-minute, like, hey, working with somebody with special needs on math. They've all got these pop-it things. Let's talk about how we can teach them math. Look at that. And then you drop little videos on YouTube and you're running with it. But here's my question for you. So
Sure.
I'm a firm believer that we've created a system right now where everyone wants to have a special need. Because, hey, why does this person's kid get extra attention my kid doesn't get? Or they find out things like, hey, I can do this with my kid or get this for my kid if I get them to say they have a need. As someone in this industry who's been watching it for years now, do you see that, or is it just me thinking that it's out there and really it's just in my head?
I have seen a few special parents attempt something like that. I'm not on the evaluation side of things, but I've heard tell stories. And it kind of makes me sad that a parent, one, would even force that on a child if they didn't need it. And two, sometimes I think maybe it's the parent that really wants the special attention.
This could be a thing.
It's
like a Munchausen kind of thing.
Yes, something. Yes, I was trying to think of the word. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, like a Munchausen thing.
Yes, and it kind of it just hurts my heart for the kid, for the child.
Absolutely. I couldn't even imagine such a thing. So
no.
So with all the things that you're doing, and like I said, we've got the books, we've got the poem, we got the writing, the photography. What was the first one of all these that you really kind of moved into and kind of like opened up your juices for yourself? Does that make sense what I'm asking? Like your first real foray into that level of creativity.
Well, I think photography and writing kind of go hand in hand. Again, my grandfather and my mom started me on that. I was 5 years old. My grandfather was an amateur photographer. He and my mom had this beautiful garden. He got this new camera, and he sat me in with milk and cookies by the window, and he went outside to take a couple of pictures, test it out. Well, I followed him with my little Fisher-Price camera, and I was behind him and started mimicking, all his movements. And he knew I was there. And I was so afraid I was going to get in trouble, because I moved from the window. And but he turned around and he said, he took the little camera and he's like, "Oh, wow, these are great." The little cutouts they had in the Fisher. And he said, "You know what?" He said, "Let's see what you can really do." And he handed me his camera. It was this little 5-year-old with this big old Minolta camera with this gigantic lens. And it became a cool thing because that's why I say writing and photography became hand in hand, because in addition to the stories he told me, we kept notebooks of, we took a picture of this, the rose on 2:00 on a Saturday, and it was sunny conditions, bright blue sky. Now we're going to take one at 5:00 when the shadows are, and so forth. And we would take a logbook of them. And logbooks, I mean, we filled so many notebooks. It was crazy. And we're talking in the 70s, so we had the Kodak little booth that we would drive down to and drop it off.
I remember them. The photo booth, drive through the photo booth. It was always like in the back of a shop at Kmart parking lot. We had Photomat where I grew up. Did you have Photomat?
Yeah, we had a Photomat and well, I was originally from Massachusetts, so we had the Kodak and photo mats, and we made it a big. It was a big thing when we went to go pick up the pictures, because he would take us to Friendlies. He would take my brother, my cousins. Friendlies is a huge part of our family too. I'll get to that in a minute, but we would go to Friendlies to celebrate and look at the pictures. Oh wow, these are cool, And he always said the one thing you want to focus on before you do anything else is doing a flower, because if you can photograph all the parts of a flower perfectly, you can photograph anything.
I can see that. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I love my flower pictures. My mom, they were my mom's favorites. And, she hung them up on the walls, and she would show anybody that she knew how beautiful these flowers were that her daughter took. And I was 5, 6, 7, 8. I was little, not even in double digits yet.
That's awesome though. So you're starting off with taking flowers and or taking pictures of flowers and doing all that kind of stuff. How have you been able? Because I think a lot of people are creative, like yourself. But how do you find a way to keep that creativity moving forward? But now with the writing the books and the poems and all the other stuff, how do you keep yourself motivated to create?
I think that's my outlet. I'm working 2 jobs now. I just started a new job at Wendy's at night, a couple of days a week. Because being a single mom and 3 kids is rough. It's rough, but right. And I have to do something. You have to do something for yourself as well. And I don't go out, to bars or places and whatnot. I go out a few times to a few things like book clubs and stuff like that. But it's something I've got to do for myself. It's something that I truly love. I truly enjoy. It's, when, whether, you write about your emotions, you write about the things that and so forth, like keeping a diary of sorts. So this is kind of like my diary. It's something I have to do to keep myself centered. It's something I have to do to keep myself young and alive. I'm going to be 56 next month, and I'm not done yet.
Pants on. You gotta find things to help keep your sassy pants on, huh? Don't you?
Exactly. And that creative outlet is, you have, like I said, even if it's you sit down and you just write for like half hour. If that's your thing, or you go take a picture of the sunset. We've got the beach 5 minutes away from here. So you got to do something and take time for you and do something you truly, truly love. And this, I hope I don't cry here. My grandparents are gone. My mom is gone. And that's also a way of keeping them close to me.
I get it. That's awesome.
So, thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't want to keep it. I don't want to keep you. I hope this doesn't make you cry. Now, you also wrote a book. Where's it at? I lost my notes here for a minute.
Patriarch Legacy.
That's it. This is how important reading is, folks, because you end up losing things in your notes. I need somebody else to read my notes for me. So you wrote Patriarch Legacy about your grandfather in World War II.
Yes.
You've also got a YouTube channel at Patriarch_Legacy that has 11 film scenes that from the book you did yourself with some children. But these are
those are my kids.
Right, but these are interviews with people from your grandfather's unit. Did I remember it right? Am I remembering right?
I had it took me almost 20 years to write the book because it was so emotional. When he passed away at Christmas in 1999, I started doing more and more research of things of him and his military. I had the privilege in 2008, I think 7 or 8, to interview over 100 sailors from the ship, the USS Dayton that he was on. They had a family. They had a ship reunion. I don't think they have many of them now left, sadly, but I've been to a couple of them, and I had I was able to interview over, sorry, that was an alarm, over 100 sailors that were on the ship. Both at the time, my grandfather was there, and after he had already been gone, because the ship has a unique history in itself. It was christened in January of 1945, the total near the end of the war.
Oh yeah,
It was
that's
christened.
done at that point.
Yes. So, my grandparents have a unique story where my grandfather was deferred because of his job. He worked in a metal shop. He was excellent. He was a genius. And he didn't like being deferred. He wanted to fight for his family's freedom, and he was tired of seeing his friends go to war and fight for his family's freedom while he was home. He felt like a coward, and he's like, no, that's just not me. And he enlisted, and my grandmother threatened to divorce him. As a matter of fact, it's one of the videos, one of the 11 videos, is Harold's decision, that highlights that moment, where he said, baby, I enlisted in the Navy today. I'm going to war. And she threw the book at him and everything. And she's like, I'll divorce you if you go, and everything else. And he, they hugged, and he said, just give me until I come back. If you feel the same way, we'll divorce. And she said, well, what if you don't come back? And he said, well, you'll be free either way. And that's such a whoa.
Fair enough. Look, if I had it figured out, like, listen, one way or another, you either getting out of it this way, or you're getting out of it that way, or you're just stuck with me.
Exactly. And I'm so proud of my kids, because the ones that play my grandparents is actually my son, so his great grandson, and my son's girlfriend that plays Shirley. My oldest plays his best friend, was Johnny Bennett. And they had I was so grateful to use the depot in Port Orange, Florida, thanks to the Port Orange Railway Society. It was an old 1800s depot that had been around for a long time, including during World War II. And we were able to use the depot for the train scenes. There's 3 of them. Yeah, and I'm very proud of my kids, because you've got my daughter who is autistic. She played several characters, including a younger me in the 80s, with the railway president as my grandfather. For one scene. Yeah, it was. He was very honored to be asked. He really was.
Ooh.
And you got my daughter who played that. You got my son who played his great grandfather. You got my oldest who played his best friend. Various friends with them, and they've never acted before. My son has Asperger's, so he's a little socially awkward, but he really nailed it. He really did a fantastic job. It's not Hollywood quality. We had one camera, which was me. We had my little editing on my laptop, program and stuff. So it's not Hollywood quality, but I'm very proud of them for actually doing it. And we did it over a course of a week. We did it over spring break, in March. You can hear the wind howling in the background, but I did my best. The baseball scene, how they met, their story was just such a cool story.
And genuine.
I thought.
So yes. It was a genuine story.
Very genuine. And that's how my grandparents exactly were. They were just genuine people. And, and my mom, they were genuine people all the way down the line.
Now, your grandparents, with being such a big influence on you from a creativity side, with your grandfather and with your mother, was grandma a creative also?
My grandma, she liked to write. She liked to write poems. My grandmother surely did. And my grandfather, he was like a woodworking metal genius. There was nothing he couldn't create. I remember the house in Massachusetts, one of them, they owned 2. My aunt lived in one and they lived in the other. But my grandparents had lived in it first when they were younger. And the archways, he redid the archways in the house. And instead of like the regular rectangular, he did these beautiful scrolled, rolled wooden archways that are still there in that house.
Wow.
He built, all of his granddaughters had a dollhouse that he hand built.
That's cool.
And each one was completely different. Each one was completely different. I loved mine. Mine was painted the same color as his house, blue. And it was just amazing. He took a chip of paint and matched it to the paint store to paint it.
Oh, that's cool. I'm just curious,
yeah.
what part of Mass? I'm curious.
Springfield, Massachusetts.
Not far from me, because I'm in the Albany area, so you're 2 hours away from me.
Yeah. And a little funny side, my grandma has, she has a relative, Robert Warren from the Mayflower. Okay. And the house of the Seven Gables, the last family that lived in there was related to us. And somewhere in, I can't remember which side it is, I think it's my grandmother's side, there's a couple of witches from Salem mixed in there. Yeah. And my grandfather's side, I actually traced it back to the kings of Scotland. Of course, the illegitimate son of the king, right? And in Ireland, like a king way back when the name Brennan started, So I always tell people, hey, if you say I'm a royal pain, you're right,
And listen, you got to get at it. Look, folks, we're talking to Jackie Brennan. You can find her on Facebook or on LinkedIn under Jacqueline Rivers. You can find her on there under that. We're talking about how to find your creative inspiration. And what a lot of yours sounds like to me is, as a child, it was a foundational thing of your upbringing to be exposed to different levels of creativity, whether it was, your mom's artwork, your grandfather, he's out there creating things, and the camera piece, getting a big Minolta. What I'm curious, actually, though, with all this, and then how you translated it for your own children, is when I think of that generation, you and I are about 7 years apart. I'm 49. So we're not a huge difference. When you start to get at a certain point, you realize it's, we're not that far. Like high school, yeah, like absolutely. You're 18, I was 11. It's a big difference there. But we kind of hit this age where we're at now. It's not the same deal. How did they talk to you about that, being creative? And did you even realize that's what was happening? And then how do you do that with your own children and the kids that you're working with?
It's so funny because I think, the foundation that I had with my grandparents, like it was an everyday thing. Let's do something rather than just sit around and watch TV. Let's do something. And in some ways it was kind of a distraction too, when tough times would come around. And now things come just unbidden. You know what I'm saying? I can be thinking, okay, what do I want to write? What do I want to, not have a clue, and it'll just like come, just like that. And that's how I'm really good at being thrown into wolves, I guess you'd say, because I come out leading the pack, because I just, and my brain goes into overdrive, and without even a second thought, it's like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do. And, my kids, I taught it to my kids because, they did not have I won't get like real much into it, but let's just suffice it to say dad is way out of the picture since my son was 4.
Okay.
I threw him in the pokey. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not afraid to stand up to anybody. Let me tell you, I'm only 5'1", but not afraid to stand up to anybody or anything. But I used it as a tool for my kids to help them with their emotions. If you're angry, let's draw lightning. Let's draw an angry picture. Let's draw something like that to help them process their emotions and so forth, and as well as the happy times. Okay, let's draw a nice field of flowers with the sun, and my kids. Let's. What do you think could be unique on this? What do you think that could be represent you on this? And it's developed into. It's really cool because my kids and I have, anytime I say, hey, let's do something fun, let's do something creative, my kids are on board. From rock painting to, painting on canvas or whatnot. And my son.
We cannot talk about rock painting. Any minute, my wife's going to come running down the steps and take the mic away from me. We have a camp right now in New York, and she takes my kids, my grandkids, my pseudo grandkids from my neighbors, and we'll ride around the RV park, picking up rocks from people's campsites, bring them back to ours, and paint them with the intention to bring them back to other people's sites. But then she forgets whose site she took it from.
Oh no! Well, she. Sorry to add to your sorrows, but she might enjoy the 3 books on rock painting that I have.
Oh, you have
the 2. Oh, yes, the two on Lulu.com concern rock painting. And the one on Amazon is more local, Volusia County, but it shows you places that are the favorites to hide and so forth, and features a lot of Volusia County artists. The Rock Around the USA, the Kindness Tour, has a list of all the rock groups on Facebook in there, and many artists and ideas and so forth. And Beyond the Rock Pile is the special things that people do with them, like from jewelry to a jewelry place in Alaska that takes rocks and makes jewelry, to someone who paints like important messages like "You Matter," suicide prevention, and so forth, which I thought was important to include. A couple other creative things that you could do with rocks. I mean, who knew, right?
Yeah, she that's straight up her alley, like all these kind of things. So how about for the kids that you work with? And I know keep going back to that because listen, as a father and a grandfather, it's always that, that's something that's always important to me. Do you, with the creative side, obviously we talked about with the math and those kind of things. How about the other creative things that you're talking about as far as, getting a child to open up with their emotions and that? How have you found ways to inspire them?
That's always the hardest one, but the most rewarding, especially in work, because that's where, when I go back to a moment ago, I said about my kids, if you're angry, let's draw pictures of lightning, or let's draw, what does an angry face look like, or what does that emotion look like? Can you give me like a visual what it looks like? Can you draw it? Can you write it out? If they can't write as very well, I've even found taking a plastic stencil, and it takes a little time, but putting the words together like a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
With a plastic stencil. Again, and sometimes I will do something like that. Like, let's take the plastic stencil and let's write out our feelings, or let's write out sad, mad. Let's say sad, mad, angry, whatever. We're gonna get the SAD for sad, and what it does, it helps them. One, they have to focus to find the letters. 2, they're still writing out their emotions, and it's making it a valid thing. But 3, they're doing it in a way where they're not throwing something across the room, or because they're focused on this, and their mind is turning from that anger
right
to that paper. You know what I'm saying? To getting that emotion out. And that's a creative way of doing it. That helps a lot of the kids. But I started with a basic, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth several times until they feel a little calmer, take a little bit of that edge off. And sometimes it takes a few redirects. Okay, let's take the stencil and let's write out our emotions. Or sometimes it's a couple of redirects. You want to draw first? Okay, let's draw first, and then we're going to go back to this, because it forces their brain to go from wanting to throw things, bang things, which we've all felt.
Right.
I wanted to throw my right. I'm having internet problems. I've been wanting to throw my computer across the room all evening. That's why I'm on my phone. But it forces them to stop and think as well.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And look, folks, we're getting ready for that New Scotland last call this week. Trade ordinary for extraordinary. New Scotland Spirits is your go-to for small batch handcrafted whiskey made right here in New York. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just real deal flavor from grain to glass. Whether you're explaining on the porch or celebrating something big, make sure what's in your glass is worth it. Head to newscotlandspirits.com and stock up. New Scotland Spirits, local grain, legendary pour. See, that's you got see this, and it's funny when you're talking about the creativity side and all these things. For me, it was reading. I always struggled as a kid with reading, so especially with reading out loud, because I struggled with reading. It was reading out loud, so I didn't want to do these things. But I can see like you were really like pushed in this creative level and these creative juices to make all these things going. So what are some of the other things? Like I said, I know we've mentioned some of this stuff. If somebody's interested in finding out what you got going on, Jackie, or they want to explore, or what can they do to find you? How can they get involved with some of the programs you've got going on? I've got the YouTube scrolling on the bottom. If you go to @Patriarch_legacy, you can see the videos Jackie's got going on. What are some of the other things that you've got going on, and how can people find you and support you?
They can also go to my Facebook page for photography. It's River Lily, RIVERLILLY, photography, 2 words. That's on Facebook. I do have like a Patriarch's Legacy type page on Facebook that they can go to if they like. I have there's what is it, Instagram and TikTok, which is Patriarch's Legacy, but I'll send it to you because it's spelled a little different and stuff. I can send you all of them.
Please.
And so I do want to touch base on one quick thing. You mentioned about reading. Okay. I used to stutter badly, as well as with dyslexia. And sometimes if I start talking, you'll see me stick on some of my words and so forth. But my grandfather came up, and my mom, she embellished on it. He came up with a sort of trick to watch yourself in the mirror and start reading out loud to yourself in the mirror. Okay. Because if you don't, and the reason for it is because if you're not comfortable talking to yourself, you're not going to be comfortable talking to anybody. And your harshest critic is yourself.
I would agree with all that.
Yes. And my mom, she made it fun over time. Hey, if you could read 10 pages, she would let me come into the room, let me be your first audience, and she would give incentives, and my grandfather would give incentives like, if you can read 2 pages to me without fail, then we'll bring you to Friendlies.
I'm all about some Friendlies.
Yeah, which my grandfather, it's in the book. And it's one of the Harold and Shirley's first date. It's supposed to represent Friendlies, but we don't have a Friendlies down here. But my grandfather actually worked for the very first Friendlies in Springfield, Massachusetts. And he was kind of booted out of his house. They gave him a job. They gave him a cot to sleep in the back of the store. That store still stands today. I think it's a pizzeria now up there in Springfield.
I don't think people realize like how big Friendlies is in the Massachusetts area because it started up there. Like you're going down, when you go down 90, you go past like on the side of the road an entire hedgerow that is cut that says home of Friendlies or something along those lines. It's right there on 90. Yeah.
And, Friendlies is making a comeback. I read recently a dishwasher from way back is now like a higher up, and he bought friendlies back from Bricks in Texas. And if a publisher ever actually picks up Patriarch's Legacy and it becomes like an actual published book instead of self-published, this is the one book I'm hoping. I would love to see like a commercial or something for friendlies, like the first date or the engagement scene, where he put my grandfather put the ring on the cherry of her ice cream sundae, and it sank, and she almost ate it. Yeah, it was awesome. And my kids recreated that too. So
it sank in the sundae. That is so great. So with what you're doing, how about you also got the song here. So tell me a little bit about the song.
Oh yes, there's 2 songs out now. I have a friend who, his son was a prodigy. So we made like a Christmas. He made a Christmas song, and we made a Christmas video for it. I'll send you that link. I forgot to send it. Yeah, the audio is horrible because I had to record it somewhere else, but there is a studio version I can send you. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, please go.
Through my friend, I met John Sokol. I hope I say his last name right, and he owns Sugar Dog Records in Leesburg.
Okay.
It's a small one. You can find him on Facebook, Sugar Dog Records, and so forth. He's a great guy, and we were working on a different project together for my friend's son, and something happened that's just not possible anymore. For my friend's son, but I have been kicking around poems and lyrics for a long time, and I was talking to him one night about 2 months ago, and he said, "Send me some of your lyrics. We'll see what happens." And I sent him the lyrics, and he put them through AI for song and for music, just to see how it would sound, because robots should never replace human beings in talent, but just to see how it sound. And he sent it back to me, and he said, before you play this, make sure you're sitting down and you get tissue. And it was so incredible. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's so awesome. And we just last week, he did the second one, called Tie a Knot and Hold On. And he said the same thing again. He said, make sure you get tissue and you're sitting down. So there's now 2 songs.
Did it actually put music to it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, it sounds like actual, like an actual professional recording. It blew me away. And, he is now looking for, so Brandon Lake, if you're listening, Lauren Day-Eagle, I think they're 2 top Christian people. We're looking for people to really record it, and a band to actually record it. Sugar Dog Records. And John is very excited, and, I have more that I'm going to send to him pretty soon. He also runs like 2 businesses and so forth, so he's got a busy life, and as well as I. But he's going to put some more through AI, and you can find them on Sugar Dog Records, a Facebook page. You can find both of them. They have, the last I checked a couple of days ago, they had well over like 1,000. I think it was 1.3K listens set to them, and I'm going to put them up on my YouTube channel soon. I've just been so busy, I haven't had an opportunity.
So I'm actually sending a message real quick while we're talking to a friend of mine, James. He does a Christmas album almost every year. His whole family's in music. He's played backup. While he was in college, he played with Chicago. A bunch of other stuff. We'll see what he's got going on.
That's awesome. And those are they're very, very personal to me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not just a testimony of my faith, because if I sat and told you my whole story one day, you'd be like, "Holy cow, how are you alive?" And not to get religious on anybody, but for me, it's all God all the
You
way.
can get as religious as you want to. I have no issues with it at all.
I've seen too many things to not believe in God, especially in my own life, especially being a single mom for 12 years. And, was definitely a face challenge. Let me tell you, um, it's more challenges than I think anybody really should go through. But I am proud of myself and stay humble at the same time that, uh, I've raised 3 kids for 12 years, basically on my own. I've dated twice. Guys my age don't want to deal with teenagers. You know what I'm saying? At
I get it.
home, they want to go out and party. They raise their kids or grandparent kids. So I'm like, fine. I just have the philosophy of I'm single, no mingle, and nobody can handle what I got going on anyway. So so that's how I put it to guys, and they kind of laugh and whatever, But for me, though, it's God. It's been me and God and these kids against the world, and they have a roof over their heads. There's food in their bellies. We have a nice vehicle. My kids have clothes. They have everything they need. They have some of the things they want. They have a PlayStation. But I know I'm so blessed, though, at the drop of a hat. My kids, if I say, hey, let's go out and do ABC today. Like go back to rock painting. Haha. We did a promotional a few years ago when the book came out for Hunt for the Golden Rose. And we painted rocks with you won on the back, or, try again. And we went Facebook Live and biked all over Ormond Beach. It was in the winter time, so it was a nice weather. We biked a good 5-10 miles and stopped at all these little places along the river and say, okay, we just rocked this part, come on down and try to find the rock and so forth. And it was actually pretty successful. I do have a old degree in advertising and marketing, but I never got to use it because videography and photography. I never really got to use it because my kids needed me more. So I sacrificed that. And
so you see the name on the screen right now. So that's one of my I guess probably two, maybe. Well, I can't say two. I probably got a whole handful of musician friends. But
awesome.
James is the kind of guy that if you write his name down, he's on LinkedIn. You guys find each other. James, hers is under Jacqueline Rivers. So when she sends you a message, make sure you talk to her. She's got songs that she sent to somebody that ended up being sent through an AI and AI created something out of the songs to create a song. But she wants a human with a creative spirit that knows about music and knows what music should sound like. James has had some stuff go on to YouTube and get over 1 million views before, not 1,000, but 1 million. So
Wow.
he knows how to put some stuff together. He is from Connecticut, so we're very kind to him and we're very slow when we talk. We don't overdo things with James. So make sure you reach out. You guys find each other on LinkedIn. I just sent him a message because I wanted him to connect with you because I got to tell you, Jackie, I didn't know where we were going to go with this. I had 0.0 clue where you and I were going to go. Sometimes I get people that are business coaches and I know where it's going to go. But talking about creativity and creative spirits and everything, you made me think of every creative spirit like James and like some other friends I had that I've already reached out to on your behalf. We'll see who reaches out to you. But you really are a creative spirit. And I got to tell you, your grandfather sounds like a hell of a guy. He really does. And somebody who reached out and did things that were at his time were not traditional. So
yes,
we're getting ready we're closing everything up here. But
Okay.
before we do,
Can I ask you a small favor? Can I have the picture on the wall? Can I have the ask you a small favor? Because I've been having internet problems, I'm on my phone. Could you send me him in an email because I'm squinting to this?
I'm going to send. What I'll do is I'll put an email together and connect it to it. That's your grandfather.
Yes.
Good looking man. Doesn't that? I mean, look at them rosy cheeks. But
Yes.
I'll what I'll do is I'll either on LinkedIn or I'll send an email and connect the two of you. Now,
Okay.
Tell everybody real quick where they can find you at, Jackie, before we're getting ready to close everything up. Tell everybody where they can find you at.
Okay. You can connect with me at River Lily Photography, RIVERLILLY Photography on Facebook. You can also connect on the YouTube channel if you like. And my email is, you can also send an email, which is River Lily Photography, all one word, at Yahoo. Make sure it's 2 L's, not one, because I'll never get it. LILY, 3 L's, sorry. And,
Right.
I really thank you for having me here and sending out messages to people for songs. I am looking for a publisher to pick up that book and a couple others we haven't even spoke about. One being a poem I wrote for my kids long ago about how a parent feels about their kids, and I illustrated it myself. So I'm very proud of myself. It was my first attempt. That I'm really looking. That's my dream, to be a well-known, world-renowned publisher, maybe retire and write books and help people, and write songs. Hold on, sorry, I was coming in. That's my dream retirement, is to write books and songs and make a living on it,
Well, James says
and
he
leave
looks
something
forward to
for my
talking.
kids.
James says he looks forward to talking to you. Now, all those things you just said, the guest always gets the final word, Jackie. So what's our final word tonight? And don't log off on me afterwards. You got to talk for a minute. So what's our final
Okay.
word tonight?
My final word is to inspire everybody, tie a knot and hold on, no matter what you're going through. And if you think you have an idea, run with it, because you never know where it's going to take you.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.